Om Kayena vacha manasyendrayirva Bhutyatmanava prakriti swabhava Karomi adyat sakalam paresma Narayana samarpayami Narayana samarpayami.
Dear Seeker of Truth, welcome. This is a very auspicious moment. We are going to talk about Bhakti. Bhakti, divine love. So we are going to talk about Bhakti as the essence of all spiritual paths, as the soul of all spiritual paths, and also as a path in itself, Bhakti Yoga. So this is a work made by sage Shandilya, the Shandilya Bhakti Sutras. Not much is known about this Shandilya, only that he was a sage, a God-realized being that gone through many other philosophies and finally got to the nectar-like Bhakti as the soul of it all. So Sage Shandilya had a very intellectual approach also. He was concerned about getting from the different authorities, the different scriptures, the validity, the importance of Bhakti as a spiritual path. So he gathered that all and shared it. So may you all find divine love in your hearts. May you all be blessed by this auspiciousness. May you all find God. Moving on, Shandilya Bhakti Sutras, Sutra 7. Gyan is to be acquired by one's own endeavor to mature and bear fruit, whereas Bhakti is causeless, doesn't depend on any action, and gets manifested on its own accord. So this Gyan needs to be acquired and matured during time to give fruits, the fruits that are Bhakti, whereas Bhakti is causeless. It's not a fruit of actions per se. And like I've been mentioning, and we will talk further, these other actions are about purity, not about Bhakti. Bhakti is causeless, so it comes on its own accord when purity is there. So love is the nature of the soul. It's about loving God. It doesn't depend on difficult practices, such as meditation, penance, postures, etc. So all these practices, they are about purification. Without purification, this parabhakti cannot dawn. So, but the bhakti itself, the dawn of bhakti, doesn't have anything to do with these practices. This is why many report the same experience, that they had a moment of bliss, of ecstasy, sometimes in meditation, other times it wasn't even in meditation. It is the fruits. So purity is the fruit of meditation, and in purity, bhakti can come. Sutra 8. Therefore, the reward of devotion is transcendental and infinite. It is causeless, it's not of this world, so it is transcendental. And by being transcendental is infinite also. Meaning the rewards are not of this world. Meritorious acts provide heaven and its pleasures, but in due time they run out. I will complement this with a passage of Chandogya Upanishad, a scripture. Meritorious deeds and actions help the creature to gain sovereignty of this world, but when their good effects end, so does this sovereignty. Similarly, good deeds gives the creature sovereignty of heaven, but when these good deeds wear off, that sovereignty ends. So, the good deeds done in this world brings you good results in heaven, in the highest worlds. But then they run out as they exhaust themselves, as you are enjoying those good fruits, and then you have to come back again. In Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran says, a devotee who has tasted the blissful nectar of bhakti for the Lord does not crave or covets anything else. So he says, O Lord, I do not want the upper heaven known as Brahmlok, the dwelling place of Brahma, nor do I want to go to heaven known as the Indralok, where other gods live, or the sovereignty of the upper worlds, nor the lower worlds. And I do not want success in the different forms of yoga as well. And neither do I want salvation. I want nothing but love and devotion for your lotus feet like. So this devotee who has tasted this nectar knows what is the most important thing. So even asking for something needs clarification, needs clarity, needs purity, or else you'll just be asking things that are not good for you. Life is full of those examples. And in the path towards God, it is the same also. So many ask for release from transmigration, ask this and that, but the highest is continuous, undiluted devotion for God. Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran says, those who have found themselves the pollen of bliss, represented by the Lord's holy lotus-like feet, would neither covet, neither... It's the same? No, it's another one, okay. Would neither covet the realm of Brahma, nor the sovereignty of the whole earth, or the dominion over the netherworlds, nor acquisition of mystical powers that are obtained by yoga, not even liberation and deliverance, that is the aim of enlightened and self-realized ascetics. They want nothing but pure love for the Lord and service to His holy feet, like I've spoken previously. Serving God is churning that ocean of nectar like bliss. So the devotee who has tasted, who knows what is the highest, he doesn't want to stop that. He wants to continue to serve the Lord. And by serving Him, to love Him continuously. In Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran says, the ultimate aim of the Vedas is realization of Lord Vasudeva, the Supreme Being. The various forms of sacrifices also have this aim of attainment of Vasudeva. The different forms of yoga also leads to this Vasudeva, and all wisdom as its culmination of Vasudeva as their goal. All spiritual virtues aim at the realization of this Vasudeva, and all destinies end in Vasudeva. So Vasudeva is another name of God. Sutra 9. A jnani, when becomes fortunate indeed, takes recourse to bhakti. Even jnana cannot be acquired independently without self-surrender to God. All the great jnanis, they are bhaktas. You see, treatises of Shankaracharya, he starts with a heartfelt prayer. He was a big devotee. Like all the great jnanis, those who have achieved the highest. So when a jnani becomes fortunate indeed, takes recourse to bhakti. Usually, well, one can start from one path or the other, or moves from one to another. So, to go into the path of jnana, the best is that the heart is already full of devotion, has a lot of devotion. This will make that path bear fruit. Without it, if he starts without it because it's more intellectual, apparently, then he will have to take recourse to bhakti eventually, so that it gains life. But one can spend lifetimes in these intellectual quests. So even jnana cannot be acquired independently without self-surrender to God. That is the most absolute truth. Both types of person derive bliss and beatitude with a difference. Surrendering to the Lord from bhakti is different from jnana, because one surrenders out of love, the other wants something from God. So this is the confusion that I mentioned previously. So those who are in the path of jnana, they surrender to the Lord because they want jnana. They don't understand that the Lord is jnana. So they look at the Lord as a means to get something. The devotee, the one who already is established in loving God, he knows that God is the end, not the means. So he surrenders to God out of love, eventually. When purity rises, but during that process, well, a lot of impurities are there, and then it gets purified. But we will go to that also. Surrendering bhakti is selfless, or else it is not surrender. It is driven by pure love and affection for the Lord, and there is no desire or expectation involved in it. So before that, it's not surrender. Because this is really the definition of surrender. But there is lower surrender also, that which is not established in purity. But of course, for example, the one who is looking after knowledge, after jnana, and seeks God, surrenders to God so that God helps him to get jnana, is still in the state of confusion. But it is working sincerely, heartfeltedly, and eventually will rise above that limitation. Because that's what happens when you don't stop. You continue and you intensify your spiritual practices. Clarity will come. Bhagavan says, Brahmagyanis who feel themselves liberated from Maya, feel themselves, but being devoid of devotion to the God's lotus feet, they return into this cycle of creation. And in the course of such a birth, some among them may perchance associate himself with some single-minded devotee of God, and by dint of that association he will imbibe shukruti, good deed, good conduct, benevolence, auspiciousness, which after many a birth endows him to get liberty to surrender himself to God. Realizing that Vasudeva is the all-in-all, and such a surrendered soul is really a Mahatma. Those are still work in progress. The Gita says, Bhagavad Gita, a clever man, when he tears the veil known by the name of ego, realizes Brahman. The mind becomes transparent, therefore does not grieve, does not hanker after anything mundane, gets equitable vision towards all beings, and in that state of his self, he gains unadulterated devotion to God. So to tear the veil of Maya, you have to be intelligent. A strong mind is very needed. A strong mind, strong determination, all of this, and intelligence, a lot of intelligence to counter your own deceptive intelligence. So this is very hard, very difficult. So a clever man is the one who can tear that veil. So as the mind becomes transparent, does not grieve, does not anchor after anything mundane, gets equitable vision towards all beings, and in that state of his self he gains unadulterated devotion to God. It is the fruit of all that, the purity that was the product of the fire of those sacrifices. Further, the Gita, he who is free from the quagmire of Maya thus knows me as the Supreme Purusha and takes recourse to my worship with single-minded devotion. And again, Sri Madhusudan Saraswati, known as the second Shankaracharya, finally became fascinated to take the path of devotion. And he said, with mind wrapped in meditation, if a mystic sees the unqualified, actionless light, Brahman, let him see, as for myself, unqualified, actionless light. Yes, yes. As for myself, my only yearning is that there may appear that bluish someone who keeps himself roaming on the banks of Yamuna, speaking about Krishna. This is a turn of heart. The heart knows God, the spirit loves God, and the innermost ground of the jiva contemplates on God. Okay.
Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva tvameva bandhushka sakha tvameva tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva tvameva sarvam mama deva deva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva.